Hi everyone, welcome back. I have a bit of a life update in case you've missed it, in case you don't follow me on Instagram, or maybe you missed my last video. I'm married! Me and James got married a couple of weeks ago now. I think it's actually been over 2 weeks, and we literally just got back from our honeymoon like 2 days ago. And today I'm gonna do my makeup exactly how I did it on the day, and I'm gonna answer loads of questions about the wedding because a lot of people were asking me different things, and there's actually a lot to answer, so I'm just gonna get into it. Also as well, a massive thank you for so many people that have messaged and like commented on my pictures and stuff saying congratulations. Thank you for all your well wishes. It was just, it was such a good day, but obviously I'll get into that. I'm gonna start with my skincare. So on the day, I actually used this little Korean skincare combo, which is the Panthenol Cica Barrier Mist from a brand called Biohill, which is a really long name, and then the Snail Mucin by Cos RX. Little spritz of this, and then a generous amount of Snail Mucin. And then I also, while I was doing my eye makeup, I put on some of these Elemis eye patches. They're the Pro Collagen Hydrogel eye masks. And what I like to do is kind of squeeze out the excess gel from the package, and then popped one of them on, and then the other one. I know this is a little bit extra, but I used both of these devices. These are both from Amazon that I've used in like previous testing random crap videos, but I actually was consistently using these in like the weeks leading up to the wedding. Whether or not they made a difference, I have no idea, but my skin on the wedding day was perfection pretty much. Okay, so the first question says, were you anxious or nervous on the day or to walk down the aisle? I was not nervous until about maybe a month leading up to the wedding. We did quite a lot of DIY stuff ourselves, and I knew that we were leaving for our honeymoon literally 2 days after getting married, so trying to get work stuff done, packing done for the honeymoon, sorting out stuff for the wedding, doing like all the last minute DIY bits, and making sure that we had like all of our DJ playlist done. We had like a test shoot with the photographer. We had to sign a whole bunch of forms and like the plan for our day to give to the photographer and the videographers, and like songs that we wanted to use in the videography. And we had to fill out a bunch of stuff for like the actual ceremony with the council, and obviously it was like communicating back and forth with the venue. So that was the only time that I kind of got stressed, was maybe like the month leading up to the wedding. The day before the wedding, I was so stressed, mostly because me being me had left a lot of things that I needed to do last minute, because I had taken on the task of like doing all the stationery and stuff. And I knew that James was going to like stay with one of his mates. Well, he went to stay with his best man the day before the wedding, and I was like, it's fine, I can do all this stuff. Like I've, you know, left myself some jobs to do, and they're gonna be absolutely fine. And I did not leave myself enough time. We had one of my bridesmaids coming to stay with me for the night, which was so nice to have her company, but obviously like making sure that the house was tidy and clean, like setting up her room to stay, like collecting the cake the day before the wedding, me like washing my hair, doing my nails, doing my toenails, packing all of my stuff into the car, packing my makeup. I was still printing stuff, like wedding stationery, and chopping up stuff at like 10:30 the night before, and I was doing my nails, which originally, I had planned like, okay, we're gonna get married on the Sunday. I'm gonna make sure that I've done my nails on the Thursday because I don't want any last minute stresses. I don't know where time disappeared to. It just disappeared, and I ended up with way too much to do, and I thought that things would take less time, and I was doing my nails until 1:30 in the morning the night before the wedding, and my alarm was set for 6:30. I used the Embryollise cream, the Lait Creme Concentrate. I think on the day I actually just ended up using my Too Faced concealer on my eyelids. But when it came to the actual day of the wedding, I was surprisingly so chilled up until maybe like an hour before I was supposed to be walking down the aisle. I went and picked up Ellie, we drove there together, because me and my bridesmaids had to be in like the room to start getting ready at the venue, which was nice, at like 9 AM. I was having a nice chat with Ellie in the car. We got there, I was doing my makeup, I was absolutely fine, I got my hair done, and I was saying to the girls, I was like, I'm a little bit nervous that I'm gonna run out of time, and everyone was like, nah, you've got ages, you won't run out of time. And you know what palette I ended up using to do like the transition shades of my eyeshadow was my original Soph Revolution palette. I was just like, you know what, I'm confident in these transition shades. And so I used a combination of like these 3 shades here, which if I remember off the top of my head, iced coffee, cup of tea, and tiramisu, question mark. And by the way, I packed a lot of my makeup into this, is that an just an eyelash stuck to it, into this Made by Mitchell like travel makeup case, which was really handy. About half an hour before we had to leave what they call the pamper room at the venue and move into the other room where I was going to be putting on my dress, I was fine when there wasn't that many people in the room, but then like the photographer and the videographer, I mean obviously it's their job, we've paid them to be there, and so I'm absolutely not putting any fault on them at all, but just them kind of like coming into the room and then filming little bits, I feel like actually stressed me out quite a bit because I was obviously doing my own makeup. If somebody else is doing your makeup, they get like really nice shots of them just like blending eyeshadow or whatever. Because I was doing my own, my stuff would just spread out everywhere and I was like reaching for stuff, grabbing stuff, and then when they came into the room I was like, I can't really do that. So I feel like I spent about 5 minutes just doing my lip liner so that they could get a nice shot of it. That is not their fault, that's literally their job. And it seems so silly because I literally record myself for my job, but I think when somebody else has got a camera on you, it's just a little bit off-putting, you know? It kind of like threw me off a bit, and then I forgot to put on the eyelashes that I was gonna wear. I'd got like afternoon tea for me and the bridesmaids and my mum. We were like yamming down these scones. They had some chocolate dip strawberries and I was like, okay guys, no one talk to me, because I said, I'm so sorry, I have turned into a monster. Like I didn't want to look at anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone because if anybody asked me a question, I was like, my head is going to explode because I suddenly felt so stressed. But not stressed, might I add, about marrying James. I was just stressed that I was going to be late for walking down the aisle and that they were going to cancel the ceremony because I was late. Okay, so I just blended that kind of all through my crease. And like, you know when you're on a time crunch and you suddenly can't see things that are really obvious? Like I feel like I was looking at my brushes like, where's the right brush to use? And it was probably right in front of me, but because my brain actually turned to scrambled egg on that morning, like, so I also used this little palette from Charlotte Tilbury, which is the Super Nudes Easy Eye palette. And I ended up using, I think it was maybe these 3 shades because I wanted a bit more definition, because a lot of people said in my trials that I needed to do a little bit dark on the outer corners so you could see it in photos. But anyway, yes, we were eating our afternoon tea. I was stressfully having a scone, which I did manage to eat, and it was delicious. So I'm glad that I got that down me, because at this point it was like 12 o'clock, ceremony was at 1:30. And then the photographer came in and was like, okay, we need to get some shots of you guys like doing the reveal to my dad and my brother and to my bridesmaids. They were like, we need to get a bit of a wiggle on. And so then I started stressing again and like, oh my God, I need to put my jewelry on. I need to sort my shoes out. I need to put my dress and my veil on and have my last finishing touches to my hair or my makeup and redo my lipstick because I've just eaten a scone. There was like a cottage just for the bride and groom, which is really nice. Actually, it was so good at the end of the night to just literally walk across the courtyard. I didn't realise that down one of the corridors there was another bathroom. I thought there was just one bathroom in this cottage where we all had to get ready. And so they were all in the bathroom sort of getting their dresses on, and I'm guessing like sorting out their bras and boob tape, sticky bra situations. And then I was just outside like, I need to get my dress on. We had a lovely guy on the day called Ash who was just from the venue, and that was the first time that we had met him, and he was sort of like making sure that everything went to plan. I guess like wedding coordinator, like the events planner, I guess. Manager? I don't actually know. He came in and was like, okay guys, we really need to get you in your dress now, or you need to be ready to walk down the aisle in like 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something. And at this point I'm there like in my pajamas, not in my dress yet, freaking out. So then my mum went and knocked on the door like, girls, how are you getting on in there? And so yeah, then my mum helped me get into my dress. We put my jewelry on, used a little hack that I'd seen on TikTok that actually a fair few people had sent to me, which said to put a dot of lash glue on the back of your neck to stop your necklace from spinning around. My necklace was in place all day, so highly recommend that. And then when I was in the bathroom, I was like, shit, I wanted to do body glow like all over my shoulders. I had like 2 spots that had popped up like on my shoulders overnight. So then my mum was like, Ellie, can you go get Soph a concealer? We couldn't find the right concealer shade. And then I was like, shit, I meant to do body glow. And so I grabbed my L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. At this point, I need to be ready in like 2 minutes or like ASAP. The only brush that I could find to hand was the brush that I'd used for my blush. So I just squeezed, while I'm in my wedding dress, so risky, squeeze some of the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion onto this brush and start buffing it into my like shoulders. But I only put on the tiniest amount because 1, I didn't want to get it, like I didn't want to drip it on my dress. And 2, as I start buffing it in, it's like a little bit pink toned, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know where my other brush was specifically for the body glow. And I was like, you know what? Doesn't matter. Let's just leave it. I need to get out there. I'm actually gonna take these off now. And then my under eyes are so nice and hydrated. Once I was ready and we did like a reveal shot with my bridesmaids, and my dad and my brother came in and I did like a reveal to them, all of my stresses went away. And then I was like, okay, just get me down that aisle. I'm just using the little dark brown shade from this palette to just put some of that on my outer corners. What was your favorite part of the day? You know what my favorite part of the day? The dance floor. I posted on TikTok and Instagram. Annoyingly, it's too long for me to post on YouTube YouTube shorts, but we danced to Love Story at the wedding, and it was literally the most amazing peak moment of my life to have all of my friends and family on the dance floor dancing to Love Story. Me and James in the middle. I was dancing with Ellie, then I was dancing with James, then we were all dancing together. My mum and dad were in that video, just like jumping up and down, and oh my god, it was so fun and so emotional. And like towards the end of that, I just like broke down crying, and Ellie was crying, and it was just like that was not only my favorite part of the day, that was one of my favorite moments of my life. Also, we both, and I think I put this in my previous video, and yeah, I put a clip of Love Story in that video as well. We both did a jump for oh my god, what is that, is the song called Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing? And in that film they do a lift, and James did it with his mates and I did it with my mates, and they all like caught me and carried me around, and same with James, and oh my god, it was so fun. Yeah, honestly, like the dance floor and the photo booth that we got, those were my favorite bits probably. But I mean, obviously marrying James is a highlight as well, but just in terms of like the amount of fun was definitely the dance floor. The next thing that I did is I used this Sephora eye pencil. I used the black one, matte black, and I used matte brown, and I put the black in my waterline, and then I used the brown to do like a little wing. So a lot of people were asking about like the price and like the budget and how much did you spend on each thing, and I've actually done what I saw Lord DIY do, which is instead of like listing the exact cost of everything, she put together like a pie chart and like the percentages of each thing that went into the budget. Okay, so the biggest part of our budget was spent on the catering, and that includes like the drinks and stuff, like the alcohol for everyone. And bloody hell, is wedding catering just an absolute joke. Like, it is so ridiculously expensive, and if I'm being so real with you guys, like I loved our venue and I would not change it. Like, I would not go back and pick a different venue because it ended up being so perfect. And I will add, we actually got such a good price on the venue because we were booking a wedding for like the same year, or not the same year, sorry, we booked it I think back in November, but obviously like only 7 months in advance. They had certain dates that hadn't, I guess, like sold yet. They were on discount, so we got a mad discount on the venue just because we were doing like a, I guess, like a late notice kind of wedding, whereas a lot of people will plan them sort of like a year or 2 or 3 or 4 in advance. We got our venue for like way cheaper, like the actual venue hire fee for way cheaper than it usually is. And we also went for a Sunday because it was, I think, like maybe the Sunday was like half the price of the Saturday. Okay, so 34.7% was spent on the catering and the drinks, and 20% was for the ceremony and the venue hire. So with our particular venue, they only allowed you to have them as the caterers, which I know that quite a lot of like specific wedding venues will do that, where you're only allowed to have them as the caterers and you can't bring in like outside caterers. And so we kind of just took the hit on that. We couldn't really do anything much about it, but that did make it significantly more expensive. Okay, so in the lead up to the wedding, I was saying to James like, oh, I kind of wish that we had maybe gone for a different venue that allowed you to bring in other caterers, because then you could get like a lot better deals on food and drink and like save a lot of money there, sort of, if we just hired out a different venue. However, on the actual day, all of those thoughts went out the window because 1, the food was banging, 2, the level of organisation at the venue, like they only do weddings. They knew exactly what they were doing and everything went so smoothly. They helped with so many little things, and there was no kind of like outside suppliers coming in for the catering. There was less like room for things to go wrong, I guess. I just want to say as well, because I think sometimes people think like, oh, influencers, they just get their whole wedding gifted. I know a lot of people do. Us personally, we did not get anything gifted for our wedding. We paid for everything. I mean, obviously we had gifts from people, but we didn't like, you know, we didn't have a free wedding in exchange for anything, you know, like we paid for all our suppliers. And don't get me wrong, weddings are expensive. If there are other influencers or celebrities or whatever that are getting things paid for, I get it. Like, I understand that. But me personally, I just didn't want our wedding day to feel like an ad. I didn't want to have to post anything. So yeah, I do not have to compliment the venue at all if I didn't want to, but I thought I would tag them in my Instagram pictures just because it was so great and I was so impressed with their organisation and their staff and how they were just so helpful with everything. The next biggest part of our budget was the photographer and the videographer. So 7% on the photographer, 8% on the videographer. But honestly, zero regrets with spending money on good photography and videography because we are so happy with our pictures. We haven't had our video back yet because obviously that takes a bit longer because they have to edit together like hours of footage. But we had 2 photographers there and 2 videographers videographers there on the day, and as in like they were part of their separate companies. For me, that was such an important thing because like I like documenting everything in my life, and to have like the pictures that we have of us and of our family, and to be so happy with them, and to have so many photos because the photographers were there from the morning until I think like 11 o'clock the second photographer left. They were amazing and such nice guys as well, and were also really helpful, and same with our videographers too. They were so friendly, so kind, so helpful, and so discreet as well. The only time that I noticed the videographers and the photographers was that moment that I spoke about in the morning. Other than that, I kid you not, I barely even noticed that they were there. They must have been like hiding in certain places because I barely saw them. Obviously it's a bit different for the photography because they will like pull you and be like, let's come and specifically take these photos. Just the whole creative team, I guess, were amazing, and I have no regrets in spending that chunk of money on them. It was expensive, but I think it's worth it because those memories will last us a lifetime. Oh, the next biggest chunk of money, I included our wedding rings on there as well. They were quite expensive, but again, these, we're gonna wear them forever. My engagement ring and my wedding ring and James's wedding ring are from Clarity Diamonds by Amy, who she made this ring for me ages ago. I've spoken about her before. And then the next thing was like the wedding dress and alterations, James's suits for him and his groomsmen. He put some money towards their suits, and then I paid for my bridesmaid dresses. We got a DJ and a photo booth, which was like 3% of the budget, and photo booth was a great thing to have. We then put some more money behind the bar, which was 2.5% of our budget, and then all of the rest of the things, as you can see, like shoes, 0.2%. Decoration and flowers, I think we maybe spent like maximum £500 on all the decorations, including like my bridesmaids bouquets, my bouquet. Me and my mum made them out of artificial flowers from the range. I'm gonna do a whole video on my second channel of all of the DIY things that we did for the wedding, because we did quite a lot of it ourselves. We did all our own stationery, so 0.1% of the budget. I think that was literally just buying a pack of paper. The other things were hair accessories and jewellery, getting mine and my bridesmaid's hair done. We did have a hairdresser who again was amazing. The cake and the cupcakes. We got a Marks and Spencer's 2-tier naked cake for £45, which we then got some artificial flowers, and I sent pictures to my mum and was like, this is how I want you to put it together. Literally like kept it super simple. Got a cake top on Etsy for maybe like £12, £15. And then we also got some cupcakes to go around the edges instead of getting like a huge cake. By the way, the next palette that I used was the Exaggereyes palette from Charlotte Tilbury, because I love this shade. I have been to a few weddings in my life, and every single wedding that I have been to, there has been tons of cake left over, and then the evening guests have probably eaten already, or in our case, we had pizza in the evening. So for the people that had been there all day, they've had a 3-course meal, and then we had pizza in the evening. We were like, if we do a big cake, we are gonna end up with so much cake left over. And some of the cakes that we looked at, like the wedding cakes, were like, I don't know, like £350. Just for us, the cake wasn't particularly important. Basically, like 120 guests, we served cake for maybe like 60, 70 people. We still had a little bit of cake left, and I think there was maybe like 4 cupcakes left. And so that was fine, we ate them. How pretty is this sparkly eyeshadow shade? I just loved that. Although looking at the pictures, my makeup ended up looking a little bit dark. I kind of regret not doing something a little bit brighter on my inner corners, but I did then go in with the Jordana Ticia Twinkle Tower. Confetti, we made our own confetti using bunches of roses from Asda, £4 a bunch. I think we spent about 40 quid on roses. Ripped all the petals up into small pieces, put them into some baskets that my mum had got for like 3 quid from IKEA. Hair accessories and jewellery, 0.5%. Buttonholes for James's like suit and their suits, 0.1%. Bridesmaids and groomsmen gifts, 0.8%. Stationery, 0.1%. Yeah. Hopefully that breakdown helps. I don't know if that's the way that everybody does it, but because obviously we didn't have somebody coming in to do the decorations, I think that made things a little bit cheaper. But Jesus Christ, you guys, it was not a cheap day. I think it's crazy. I mean, we went over the budget that we had originally set ourselves by quite a bit. If you are doing it where you're on like a super strict budget, I would highly recommend go for a venue that doesn't make you do the catering in-house. Outside suppliers for catering tend to be a lot cheaper. You could do like a buffet for people, because we did look at those things as options, but then we fell in love with our venue and we're like, you know what, fuck it. So this is the Jordana Ticia Twinkle Tower, and I've just used the lightest shade, which I think is what I did on the day. I think I just put that lighter shade over sort of like half of my eyelid. Some people were asking about like, did I powder my face throughout the day? How many times did I touch up my lipstick? I did touch up my face, I think about halfway through the day. Brought with me my little white handbag and I put everything that I needed in here. So like eye drops, spare contact lenses, emergency lash glue. I put like my lip combos in here. I put a mini perfume in here. I put a powder in here with a little mirror. What else did I put in here? I think a little fold out hairbrush, which I didn't end up using, and my hair was looking like a bit of a rat's nest by the end of the day, but oh, and I put my phone in here too. By the way, I then took this dark brown shade, I think it's called Brownie, from my Soph palette, and I just deepened up the corners even more. But it was actually so handy for us, the fact that we were staying in the cottage that was actually on the venue. I ran back there a couple times to like go to the toilet and like spray some more perfume. And actually no, I did brush my hair with my big hairbrush a couple times and to change my shoes and stuff. So it was so handy that we could stay on the venue, because then I could kind of leave stuff in the room and keep going back to it if I needed. If you're not doing that, just bring a handbag with you and either have like someone from your family or one of your bridesmaids look after it. I just left it on one of the chairs. So I then went in with this dark brown shade and just went over my eyeliner. Somebody has asked what was our first dance song. Our first dance was The Joker and the Queen, but the Ed Sheeran featuring Taylor Swift version. And did we practice a dance? No, we didn't. We just sort of stood there and swayed. And then after about 30 seconds, we got the DJ. We'd asked the DJ to be like, okay, everyone else onto the dance floor, so that we weren't just stood there dancing awkwardly. We did want like that first dance moment, but yeah, we picked The Joker and the Queen because Ed Sheeran is one of James's all-time favourite singers. I also love a bit of Ed Sheeran. We've seen him in concert together a couple times, and obviously Taylor is mine, so that one just fitted so nicely. I feel like it kind of describes us in the song, which is really sweet. James didn't want it to be a full Taylor Swift song because he's not a massive Taylor Swift fan, so I was like, that's fair enough. I think for a while we were set on the fact it was going to be a Luke Combs song. Then I started listening to The Joker and the Queen again because I kind of forgot that that song existed, and I played it for James and I was just bawling my eyes out, and even James cried, and he barely cries at anything, so I was like, okay, this is our first dance song. Also, I used this shade from my Soph palette in my inner corners, which is the shade called Fairy Lights, which is just a really bright white kind of shimmer. Can you tell us more about your dress? I'd love to see ones you tried on but didn't pick. I am going to be posting a shorter video of dresses that I tried on and didn't pick. I tried on 7 dresses, and I had seen my wedding dress online. I got it from a shop called Wed to Be, and I was debating for a while whether to get a dress from Etsy or whether to get one from like a bridal store, because I didn't want to spend like crazy money. I didn't want to spend thousands on a dress. And so I said to my mum and I said to Ellie, like, let's go to this Wed to Be store, let's try on this dress that I've seen online that I like, although I had pictured, like, I really wanted off the shoulder sleeves, so I photoshopped this little picture of the dress that I liked with off the shoulder sleeves, and I went into the store, and the first day that I tried on dresses in one of their stores, they didn't have the dress. Let's move on to the base because I'll come back to the eyes. I forgot to use my Tarte primer on the day. I was going to use the Tarte like pore filling primer, completely forgot, and ended up just using the Milk Hydro Grip. But then after I tried on those dresses, I ended up phoning a different store. So I went to a different Wed to Be store in London. They had the dress. They only had one in the whole store. It was a size 12 originally, and it was too big for me, but I ended up buying the dress on that day, and then I just had it altered by like a local seamstress to tailor it perfectly to my body. The way that Wed to Be works is you just buy them off the rack, like whatever they've got in is what they've got in. So it's from Wed to Be. The brand is called Viva Bride, and it is the Bricks dress with 2 X's. And then I added on the Wed to Be sleeves, and then I also got like a short veil from Wed to Be. Okay, so then for my base, after I'd done that primer, I used my Too Faced concealer in the shade Swan, and for some reason I decided to do my concealer before I'd done my foundation, and I did it like this. I wish I had used the slightly darker shade, because I feel like this shade all the way up to my eyes was just too much, and in some of the pictures I've got like a bit of a stripe. Whether or not I actually just used too much on the day, which I think I did, because actually that looks a lot more normal, but oh well, it is what it is. In most of the pictures you can't tell. And this is what I realised, right? Most of the things that are going to go wrong on your wedding day, a lot of them you will realise they just don't really matter. Like, yes, parts of my makeup and like me forgetting my body glow and stuff, but on the actual day, it literally doesn't matter. Foundation was Nars Light Reflecting in 4.5, and I think I used a fair bit of this just because I wanted it to hold up really well. Clomana makeup sponge. Did you have a wedding planner? We did not, because after we'd found the venue, like, we found that the most stressful part, and once we'd done that we were like, well, now, because we're doing our own decorations, like we probably don't need a wedding planner. But I think if you have the budget for a wedding planner, and if you think you would get really stressed out not having a wedding planner and you've got the budget for it, just get the wedding planner. But I don't think that you need one. I think maybe it would have been more stressful if we were in a different venue where there was a lot more suppliers that came into the equation. You know what I've just realised I forgot to do? After I used the Elemis eye patches, I forgot to just wipe under my eyes. I did that on the day just to avoid any like pilling. People were saying something you're glad you did and something you wish you didn't do or stress about. Something that we're so glad that we did is spend the extra money on the photography and videography, and something we're so glad we didn't do is get like a big expensive wedding cake. I used this Nude's matte Bondi Bell stick, which is like my favourite contour stick. Hang on, I've not done my concealer yet. Too Faced Bonds Weight in Vanilla, just on any spots and stuff. Although, oh my god, I was so lucky with my skin on the day. It was actually perfect. I will go more into skincare in a bit. In terms of like regretting anything, it definitely would have been less stressful if we'd have got somebody else to do like the stationery and the decorations. And once we'd like decided that that's what we were doing, it's like, well, it's too late now to go back on that. To be fair, we did have the budget, but I was just like, I don't want to pay thousands of pounds for flowers when they're just gonna die. I wouldn't say that that was a regret, but just like a observation. I'm just using my little Morphe V105 on my nose. Oh, okay, so one of the regrets I would say is that our videographers left at 9 p.m. and I do actually really wish that we'd paid to have them stay a little bit longer until like maybe like 10 or 11 even, or ideally for the whole night. But then obviously I know that they've got a long day, but part of me wishes that I could have either paid extra. I think they did have a package where you could pay a bit extra to have them to stay all day. Originally we thought like, oh nah, having them stay till 9 will be fine because people will be on the dance floor by then. However, something in my eyes that went massively wrong on our wedding day, and is actually probably the biggest thing that was like a bit of a nightmare, but you know what, it was fine on the wedding day, is that our wedding day happened to fall on the day of the football Euros final, and England were in the final on our wedding day. And if I am being totally honest with you guys, I know that some people would be like, get over it, it doesn't matter, it's a wedding, people are there for you in the wedding, you don't have to play the football. We have a big football loving friend and family group. Watching the semi-final, I mean all the way through the Euros, I have been so unpatriotic, being like, England, come on guys, just please lose this game for me. Please, I cannot have the football on my wedding day. For my blush, I used Charlotte Tilbury Pinkgasm. I will tone this down, I know that looks a bit crazy. James was so conflicted because obviously he wants England to win because they've not won since what, like 1960 something, like it's been many, many years. They didn't end up winning. But James was obviously rooting for England, but also was like, oh, I don't really also want the football on our wedding day either, because he knew that that was going to bother me. And also then we would have to like, I don't know, do something about it so that people could watch the game. Some of my friends that were into the football were messaging me being like, hope you've got a screen ready. Some of my friends that were like not interested in football at all were like, come on England, just lose this game. And England scored that last goal and made it into the finals of the football. I'm not gonna lie, there were some tears. There were some tears. Maybe that is me being me, but I'm sure a lot of people will probably agree with me. Having to play the football on a screen on your wedding day is far from ideal. And oh my god, my friends and family were so divided over it. Like some people were like, Soph, do not play the football, it's your wedding day, they can get over it. If they're there for you, they will not be bothered to miss the football and they will just have to deal with it, like this is your wedding day. And then some of my friends and family were like, well, you're gonna have to play it because otherwise people are gonna be like watching on their phones and it will just look a bit messy and people are gonna want to watch it. And I was just so upset at the fact of like people being like, oh, we have to be at a wedding, we can't watch the football, which I know that like most of our friends and family probably wouldn't be like that, but I knew that they would be wanting to watch it and I didn't want to take that moment away from the people that are really into football. And so that was probably the main thing that went wrong on the wedding day, was that we then had to pay, I think it was like 95 quid to hire a flat screen TV and to play the football on our wedding day. And my regret about not having the videographer until later is that the videographer left at 9, but the football started at 8. Half of our guests swear there was one point during the day where there was like 8 of us on the dance floor. I have to say, I did not watch that football for a second, and honestly, James barely watched the football. He spent a lot of time like talking to his family that were sort of sat outside and not wanting to watch the football or be on the dance floor, which is so fair. Like, he was kind of popping in and out, but a lot of the guests, I mean, we can't blame them. We got the screen for them to be able to watch it, but I think the videographer probably didn't get a lot of shots of people on the dance floor, and the dance floor probably is going to look a bit dead in the video, because by the time he left, everyone was still watching the football, so the dance floor wasn't very active. And then when England lost, the dance floor came alive, and I have got to say the biggest thank you to Jazz from Jazzy Bum. I don't know if you guys watch her, she's also a YouTuber. She had her vlog camera with her, and she just started recording stuff on the dance floor. She was just doing it for us, and she recorded like all of Love Story. Ellie's boyfriend also recorded Love Story for us, which was so nice of him, and like to have that memory is actually the most special thing in the world. Memories that we will keep forever and ever and ever. Jazz filmed so many clips of the dance floor in the evening, and she recorded, like without even me noticing, she recorded a bunch of like video messages from our friends and family, which is so special to like look back on. After the wedding, everyone was like, Jazz has been amazing. I sent her a bunch of flowers and was like, Jazz, I actually cannot thank you enough for filming some of that footage. We wouldn't have that because, I mean, it wasn't our videographer's fault that they were only there till 9 p.m. That's what we paid them for. But that is probably like my one regret. If you're gonna have a videographer and you want those memories on the dance floor, just pay the little bit extra to have your videographer stay till the end of the night, or like until like 11. Although I've got to say, like the last hour on the dance floor was when we started doing like the lifts and the spinning round and the Love Story and everything. So, by the way, I just used this Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder Bronzer. And I've said to Jazz, like, if you ever need me to repay the favour, I am there. Because that was just, yeah, so nice to have those memories. Other regrets with my makeup, I wish I went a bit heavier on the bronzer. I was so scared of, like, overdoing it. I actually think on the day I didn't end up doing enough. And same with the blush. I didn't want to look back on the pictures and be like, oh God, why did I go so heavy on the blush? So I was kind of scared doing my blush. I used a little bit of this one, which is the Sephora Flirt It Up blush. I just put on the tiniest little bit, and on camera, like in the pictures outside, you can barely see my blush. And then I used this, which is the Ciate Summer Fling Glow 2 blush. So I used this. I felt like I was putting a lot on the day, but then yeah, you can barely see it in the pictures. Did you ask for gifts? You know what? We actually didn't. We put on our wedding like registry thing. Me and James have lived together for like 4 years now. We have everything that we could possibly need in the house. Like, we didn't really need anything, so we did like the cliche thing of like, your presence is the present, which is actually completely true. Like, we genuinely did not need or want anything from our guests, but we said, for those of you that are wanting to give us something, we used this website called The Wedding Gift, or The Wedding, I will find it and I will put it on the screen because it was a great website. I did use the Rare Beauty Mesmerize highlighter, and then I used the Exaggereyes shade down the center of my nose. People could put money towards experiences on our honeymoon, or just like general honeymoon fund, which was amazing because then on our honeymoon we just had the best kind of like carefree time, and certain experiences that we wouldn't necessarily have done before, like for example, people have put money towards us getting like a couple's back massage, which we probably wouldn't have really bothered with before, but because people have put money towards it, we were like, well, we better do it then. And people had put money towards stuff like a sunset meal on the beach, which again was like extra money that we probably wouldn't have bothered doing, but we did that on our last day of the honeymoon, and it was so lovely. And so people putting money towards experiences just ended up allowing us to have like a dreamy honeymoon, and so that was such a nice way of doing things. I'm just gonna go back in with like the shades that I used through my crease, just on my lower lash line. Which, another regret of my makeup, I think on the day I went a bit too dark on my lower lash line. Did you write your own vows? We kind of did. Well, we didn't, but there were some vows that we could kind of pick from that were like personalized vows different to the norm, and we kind of picked 2 different ones and combined them together. So technically wrote our own vows, but it was like mishmashing 2 different sets of example vows. But then on the day they were like, oh, we didn't get your forms. So we were like, ah, great. And so they said, she was like, let me just write them on a piece of paper and then you can repeat after me. But then I don't know if like she missed out a comma or if I missed out a comma when I was explaining things, but when she was reading it out, she messed up like the vows, and some of the words were in like the wrong place where there was supposed to be like a comma there. And so when she was reading them out, we were sort of looking at each other like, that doesn't sound right. And then, yeah, that we then both kind of messed up our vows. That was a bit of a fail, but also didn't really matter. Again, was just like a funny little thing. Did you do a dress change? I didn't, because I was like, you know what? We've spent enough money on this dress. I'm gonna wear it all day. But I did change my shoes. I changed into a pair of Converse, platform Converse, which was the best decision of the day outside of marrying James, because then I was comfortable all night and it was incredible. Oh, in terms of the honeymoon, can you do a full rundown on the honeymoon, cost, getting there, weather, etc.? So for our honeymoon, we went to the Maldives, and it was actually the Maldives off season, so we were expecting that we were going to get a little bit of rain. We generally got very lucky with the weather. We did 11 nights. We booked our trip through BA. I'm just trying to recall all the things in my head. Yeah, we booked the whole trip through BA because I think it ended up being slightly cheaper to do it as like a package with the flights. We went for full board instead of all-inclusive, because all-inclusive was like an extra like £1.5 or even £2. Although everything there was so expensive. Like for a Coke Zero, I think it was $6, like crazy. The cocktails were like, I don't know, like $16, $18, $20, and all the activities were way more than we thought they were going to be, like boat trips and jet skiing and stuff. But luckily, because we had our friends and family had like put money towards certain stuff, we did more activities than we would have done if they hadn't have done that. I swatched every single one of my brow pencils, like my skinny brow pencils, and went for the coolest toned one that matched my eyebrows the best, because some of my brow pencils are just way too warm. This is the Hourglass Arch Brow Micro Sculpting Pencil in Soft Brunette, and I literally pretty much used this up on the day. There's the tiniest bit left, but this is such a good brow pencil. So we stayed on a resort in the Maldives called Coradu, and it was a 10-hour flight with BA. For some reason, I thought that to get to the Maldives, you had to do a stopover in like Dubai, but when we discovered that you can fly direct from Heathrow to Malé, I think it is, which is like their mainland, and it's a 10-hour flight, we were like, let's just do it, because it was actually cheaper than we were looking at doing Mauritius or Antigua. The Maldives ended up being cheaper, I think, because it's their off season. 10-hour flight from London to Malé, and then we got on a seaplane, which honestly, I actually quite enjoyed the seaplane. You don't go as high as you do in like a regular plane, and you can see out the window the whole time. And when we were on the seaplane, you can see like all of the islands and atolls in the Maldives, which is beautiful. And we saw this massive turtle like swimming in the sea from the seaplane. Like, it was such nice views, and I honestly kind of enjoyed the experience. Hang on, I'm gonna have to use a different brow pencil because that one's just run out. So we collected our luggage when we got to Malé airport, and then we had to hand back over our luggage, and then they flew our cases with us on the seaplane. And then when we landed on the resort, our luggage was just like brought to our room, which was really cool. I did end up doing a few little fake freckles on the day. That's how I feel my best, so that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, we stayed on a resort slash island called Coradu, which, oh my god, I actually can't fault it. It was just incredible. We have the best memories. I think it was probably the best holiday I've ever been on. They're on like a part of the atoll where they have such incredible marine life. If you were keeping up with my stories, I have saved them all as a highlight on my Instagram. We swam with turtles. They just have turtles that are just like chilling around. They have like coral reefs where you can just go snorkeling and see all these amazing fish. We saw sharks. We saw a stingray. We saw eagle rays. The beach is stunning. They had a pool. We stayed on like the Sangu part of the island, which is adults only. Food, the buffet food, some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. We ate good on that holiday, and they had a different theme every night. So they had like Indian night. Oh, that was probably my favorite. They had like fresh naan breads and butter chicken and chicken tandoor. I'm actually salivating. It was so good. The staff were so friendly, so helpful, so nice. Like literally the perfect dream honeymoon destination. Maybe one day we'll go back. But me and James both agree that with anything in life, like I would rather have a trip to the Maldives and have all these amazing memories, or like a trip, it doesn't have to be the Maldives, a trip anywhere to have amazing memories, than I would rather have like physical items. Like, don't get me wrong, I have a couple of designer bags, but they're not like super crazy designer bags. When I was younger, I used to say like, oh, one day I'm gonna have a Chanel bag. Now I'm like, fuck the Chanel bag, let's go to the Maldives. I used the Refy brow gel in medium brown. And in terms of the weather, again, I posted more about this on my Instagram story, so if you want to go have a look on there on the highlight, I went more into it. But we did have maybe like 4 evenings evenings of rain. However, when it gets to the evening, because it gets dark quite early there, all we were doing in the evenings anyway was just like going to the buffet and just chilling or like having drinks at the bar. For mascara, I ended up using the Clio Kill Lash Super Proof Mascara. This is the volume curling one, but I think they do like other versions. But I tested this and I tested the, I think it was the Etude House Curl Fix Mascara. These are both so waterproof. However, at the very end of the day, bearing in mind my makeup was on from 9 AM until midnight, I noticed a little bit of smudging up here, but for the whole day, this mascara held up so well, although it's really hard to remove. So I'm actually just thinking, why am I putting this on right now when I don't need it to be waterproof? But I'm gonna switch to another one because it's really hard to get off. They had like waterproofs and umbrellas there that you could use, which was so handy. We had like one day, which was actually our second to last day, where it was a little bit drizzly and cloudy. Highs of 30 degrees, lows of 29 degrees, like hot all 24 hours. We did have a bit of a scary storm on one of the days where it was so windy and rainy and it felt like the roof of our little hut was gonna blow off. That was actually terrifying. Originally we'd booked one of the beach villas, and then when we got there they were like, oh, it's your honeymoon, like we will upgrade you to one of the water villas, which was so kind of them. But I was then kind of terrified because I was like, oh, I don't really want to be in the middle of the sea, like if there's going to be rain and storms. And then yeah, there was a storm and it was terrifying. So I'd recommend, if you are debating going to the Maldives during their off season where there's going to be some rain and potentially storms, if you're scared of that kind of thing, book one of the beach villas. They are more protected by like palm trees and there's more stuff in the way before the wind gets to them. But because we were literally on the sea, it felt like our little room was getting battered about in the storm. But I think we did get quite lucky because some people have been, I think, where it's been a lot more rainy. I used these two setting sprays, the Urban Decay All Nighter and the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray from Charlotte Tilbury. After I'd finished my whole base, I used this one, which is the Urban Decay. And I used it liberally, like I used a lot of this. And then after I'd finished everything, I used the Charlotte Tilbury one, and my makeup lasted so well considering it was on for hours and hours and hours. Another thing, I forgot to bring with me like a glowy setting spray, which I kind of wanted one that was going to give my face more of a glow because my face was very matte at the start of the day, but you know what, that's okay. Did you do a private first look between you and James? We did not. I just walked down the aisle because I wanted to have like the aisle moment, and I knew that if we were doing a first look, I would have to be ready even earlier. The lips were the thing that I was deciding for so long about, and on the day, I went for 2 combos. I switched my lip up throughout the day because I was like, you know what, all of these are good choices and I can't decide. For the ceremony, my lip combo ended up being Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine. I forgot that this existed. I did go for Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the Elton John collaboration in Rocket Girl because it was a tiny bit deeper and just a bit more me than Pillow Talk. And then in the center, I used MAC Myth just to brighten it up a little bit. So this was my initial bridal lip combo, but then packed into my bag for the rest of the day, I then switched it up. Okay, so then when we went to take the pictures, we did the ceremony, I kissed James, he got lipstick on him, but it was fine, it wasn't super noticeable, it was all good, he wiped it off. Then when we went to take pictures, I was like, quick, I need to go touch up my lipstick. And what I did in those moments of being quick was I used this, which is so new for me, and it is the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Sticks in Is It Fussy? And I just put some of this over the top because I was like, this makes it a bit more pinky. So I kept adding this for the pictures, which is gorgeous. And then later in the day, I was like, you know what? I've got the matching lip liner in my bag, which is the Fenty Beauty lip pencil in Thugs Blush 202. And then by the end of the night, I was wearing these as my lip combo, which was a bit more pink. Oh, and I touched up throughout the evening with the Charlotte Tilbury powder. Oh, and then later on in the night, I used the e.l.f. Rose Envy lip oil over the top of everything. And that was my 6 product lip combo. And then for my lashes, I got a bit flustered. I was getting my hair done and I started doing my lashes and I thought I'm gonna finish off my lashes and add more to them. And so I I ended up going for the Kiss Falscara Individual Lashes Natural Wispy Wisps and the Lengthening Wisps. I used one of each of these on my outer corners, and I used Kiss Falscara Lash Bond and Lash Glue just to make sure that they were like double reinforced. But guys, I panicked when it came to my lashes. They were like the last thing that I was doing. I was going to use some of the lashes that I got sent recently from Lily Lashes because everyone was like, oh, I think those are your wedding lashes. Those look absolutely stunning. But I didn't know if they were like too much. And looking back on the pictures, I kind of wish that I'd used those because I feel like my lashes just were not looking on top form, but the reason being is because I only put on 2. Normally with these I put on like 3 or 4, but I put on 2, went to have my hair done, then I was just so like stressing about everything else that I forgot to finish my lashes. I did have the idea, I was like, after the ceremony I'm gonna come back and put them on, but then I obviously forgot, didn't I, because I was having too much fun. And did it matter? No. Okay, yeah, so look, I literally had like 2 little outer corner ones on like that, and it would have looked so much better if I had 3 or 4. But at least they lasted all day, and actually it was so good that I ended up sticking the lashes on, I think, underneath my lash band like with these, and I decided that I wanted to do that because I feel like that's more fail-safe for me personally than having a strip lash that could potentially peel off. And that, I think, is my wedding makeup done. This is exactly what I did on the day. Oh, did I say that I used the Laura Mercier powder? I might have forgotten that. This was my finished bridal makeup look. Pretty much a recreation of what I did on the day, but I think on the day I actually went a little bit heavy on my lower lash line. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions. How long does it take you to plan the wedding? We did it in 7 months. I think it was fine doing it in 7 months. I feel like sometimes things are a bit more complicated the more suppliers you have. I feel like the more things you have, the more suppliers you have to talk to, the more lengthy the process is, the more stressful it is and stuff. So I don't know, we planned it into 7 months and actually didn't find it too bad. But like I said, I'm gonna do a whole video on my second channel of all of the DIY stuff that we did for the wedding and like going into everything over there, which will be at some point soon because actually currently half the decorations are still at my mum's house. People were saying what were the most stressful bits? The seating plan. Trying to get all of your friends and family onto certain size tables. For us, they recommended 8 people per table, but my god, we then had, I think, 12 people drop out due to matters like out of ours and their control. But every time we had somebody or like a group of people drop out, we then had to shuffle the tables around again because they made up like a portion of that table, and then without them it was like too little people. We had to shuffle the seating plan around every time, and then every time you shuffle the seating plan around, you have to shuffle all like the name cards around and then adjust the allergy sheet for everyone and like what everybody's having for food and like where everybody's sat and send it all over to the venue again. And I literally had to update them like I think 3 or 4 times with new seating plans, new dietary sheets. That was the most stressful part, I think. Does it go as fast as you think it will? Or did you try to take it in as much as you could? Honestly, the day went so fast, but it was the best day ever. It was just so fun. Like, we wanted to have a fun wedding where everyone is kind of like quite chilled, just having fun, having drinks, having food, like having pizzas and cupcakes and dancing on the dance floor, having fun in the photo booth. The photo booth was such a good idea. It was one of the ones that like printed out the photos, and we now have a book with everyone's photos in it, which I love. We had like a courtyard area outside so people could be outside or they could be inside. The kids were like playing with hula hoops. Yeah, we had a few kids there. We had a few friends and family that have got like babies and children, so they came as well. We only had a few kids though, and it was just so fun. It was just the best day. And somebody said, what song did you pick when you were signing the registry? So we had to have a song for Walking Down the Aisle, which by the way, my song for Walking Down the Aisle was a piano version of Mine by Taylor Swift, which is one of my favorite songs ever. So that was my aisle song. When we were signing the registry and stuff, they said we should pick 2 songs for like while people were like waiting and chatting and stuff for us to sign the registry, because our council and like the registry people said that we could not have any songs that reference like God or Jesus or religion, because we didn't do a religious ceremony. Apparently it can make your ceremony invalid if you have like any religious connotation. So they said to avoid any songs that mention like God or Jesus or the Lord or praying. And so many country songs that me and James love will mention those things. Find me a country song that doesn't mention the Lord or praying or something. But we finally found one, which was Kane Brown, Good As You, which is one of our favourite songs. So we had Kane Brown, Good As You, and then our second song was You Are the Music in Me from High School Musical. We both love High School Musical. That's actually, this sounds so sad, but I don't care. One of the things that bonded us when we first started dating is that James made a playlist for when we were driving in the car, and he put on tons of High School Musical songs. So we were like, you know what, we've got to have it. And then our song for walking back down the aisle, for being like, woo, we're married, was I'm a Believer by Smash Mouth, which is the song from Shrek, which again, we both love Shrek, we both love that song, and it's just as fun, like, I thought love was only true in fairy tales. It was so good. So those were our songs. So Cool. Did your dad walk you down the aisle? He did, which was really lovely. Did James cry when you walked down the aisle? He didn't. However, he was like tearing up before that because his sister was like one of my bridesmaids and was walking down the aisle. By the way, my bridesmaids were Ellie, my maid of honor, my brother's fiance, James's sister, and then one of my longest family friends. So I had an amazing group of bridesmaids. They all wore different dresses. They all looked stunning with like their hair done. They all did their own makeup, but everyone looked gorgeous. But James's sister walked down the aisle and she was literally like bawling her eyes out, and so he started tearing up at that, and he was like, I need to hold it together. He doesn't really cry a whole lot, to be honest, but when we were saying like our vows to each other, I feel like we were both sort of welling up and trying to be like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And it was actually kind of funny because I could see one of his eyes was like slightly twitching, and so that almost made me burst out laughing, and then I looked like I was gonna laugh, and he looked like he was gonna laugh, but I was like, I cannot laugh right now. They're literally saying all of these things that we're supposed to repeat and like talking about our marriage, and I was just there like. So he didn't cry when I walked down the aisle. However, he told me afterwards, as I walked down the aisle, he went, holy shit, which is just very him. What perfume did I end up wearing? I went for Floral Street Arizona Bloom, and then I accidentally, hang on, I'm gonna spray some of this now. It's just a bit different for me and I love it. It's like sweet and floral at the same time, but this lasted really well on my skin, and oh my god, it smells like my wedding day. And then I'd also brought this one with me, which is Irresistible by Givenchy, which they very kindly gifted me a couple months ago now, I think. And then when I went into for the evening to like brush my hair and stuff and take some pictures with Ellie and change our shoes, I sprayed on some of this. So I kind of had two. Another question which is so important to anyone that is a member of the Itty Bitty Titty Committee is, what bra did I wear? Because as you saw, my dress was strapless off the shoulder and had a sheer like corseted bit. So any like normal strapless bra you would see, there were two that would have been perfectly fine. I have my Bumba, which was the wrong shape for my dress because my dress cups were like demi cups, is that what they're called? So that stuck out the top of my dress. I ordered these on TikTok Shop, which are like pretty much like a dupe for the Bumba. These were like the exact shape of my dress cups, and these would have been perfect as well because I tried on different options before the wedding, obviously. However, I almost felt like these gave me too much of a boost, where I was like, I felt like it was a lot. I was going from like an A to a B probably, but it felt like a lot and I didn't feel as much like myself because they're quite thick. Although those were going to be my backup option if this came off, because I ended up just going for a classic sticky bra, which I would not recommend if your wedding is on a hot day and your dress isn't one that's got like a lot of structure, because it could peel off if you're dancing and stuff. But it lasted all day because my dress was like a tight kind of corset and it was boned. I knew that this was gonna like stay in place, and it did. Thankfully, got this on Amazon, it was like £10. I'll link it below. What we have: something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. My something old was a silver sixpence, which I don't know why I'm doing this. James's mum is quite superstitious and she was like, you need to have a silver sixpence in your shoe as well, which apparently was like an older version of the rhyme. And so I had her silver sixpence from when she got married in my shoe, and I stuck it under, I had some of those like silicone shoe insert things, and that was my something old. I mean, it was technically something borrowed as well. My something borrowed was one of my mum's rings, which I wore for the ceremony. My something new was obviously like my dress and my shoes. My something blue, my seamstress had sewn a little blue bow into my dress. I also had a blue garter. My something blue was also my bridesmaids because they were wearing blue. And another thing that was something blue was in my wedding ring. On the very inside of my wedding ring, I have got James's birthstone, which is also blue. The wedding theme was kind of blue, so wasn't sure on that one. Who did speeches? So we didn't stick with the traditional like father of the bride, best man and groom, because me and Ellie also did a speech, and my speech and Ellie's, oh my god, during Ellie's speech I was crying so much. Her speech was gorgeous. Actually, everyone was crying during the speeches. It was very emotional. It was a lovely, lovely, lovely moment. Did I do my bridesmaids makeup? No, they did their own makeup. I asked if they wanted a makeup artist, but they said no, and they all looked gorgeous. My skincare routine leading up to the wedding, I do not know how I've pulled this off, and I don't know why. For the past month my skin has been so good, like the best it has been in years, but I'm putting it down to my ridiculously excessive skincare routine. I'm gonna post a screenshot of like everything that I did here, just in case I forget anything. But I was doing like daily facial massages with those two different devices, like before I went to bed. I was using loads of hyaluronic acid, like snail mucin, everything that was hydrating. I was doing sheet masks. I was doing under eye patches. I was using my Current Body LED face mask like every day in the couple, like 3 weeks, month leading up to the wedding, which I feel like is supposed to help reduce inflammation. And generally, I feel like my skin was looking amazing. I upped the tretinoin in my Dermatica prescription. I was using the Dermatica vitamin C every single day. It was an excessive skincare routine, but it worked, and my skin on the day was flawless. Since then, like the whole of my honeymoon, I have barely had any spots come up, and I've just had like one come up yesterday, and I'm like, why is my skin so good at the moment? I don't know what's going on, but maybe the skincare routine works, excessive as it is. Oh, the last question is, a lot of people were saying, how was Pinky involved? Was Pinky there? Did you get pictures of Pinky? Pinky was not at the wedding. I've said this before, but she's quite an anxious dog. She would just bark and be stressed, and she's also very chaotic, and she will just like want to play the whole time and be running around all over the place, and I think it would just be very stressful for her, stressful for us, probably stressful for whoever was looking after her on the day. So Pinky was not there on the day, which was a shame. So Pinky stayed with James's family dog, and they had their neighbour come in and look after them, so she was all good. What has happened to my hair? I literally styled it. I mean, it is like 30 degrees today, which doesn't help, but oh my god, my hair, what the hell? I literally curled it. What has happened? So apparently I was so distracted sorting my hair out and taking thumbnails that I forgot to film an outro. I don't understand how I did that, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much if you asked me a question. Thank you so much for all of your well wishes, for everybody that has just been so lovely about the wedding and everything. I'm sorry this video was so long. If you made it to the end, you're a real one, and leave me a little white heart emoji in the comments, because it was a long video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.